Good evening. I call to order the regular meeting of the mayor and council at 7 p.m., April 22nd, 2025. If you'll all rise for the invocation if you can.
Almighty God, we come before you seeking your guidance and wisdom as we gather for this council meeting. May our discussions be characterized by reflect, understanding, and a commitment to the common good. Help us to discern the needs of our city and to make decisions that reflect our values of justice, peace, and compassion. May our actions be this evening bring honor to our name and serve the best interest of our city and its people. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the agenda for this meeting?
No, sir, there are not.
I will remind the council that there is an executive session after this meeting regarding personnel matters. You have a copy of the minutes in front of you for review. You've had them. I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes if there is such.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Councilwoman Grassett, I second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, I'll take the yeas and nays. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all present attending vote in the affirmative. Do we have someone here or anyone here for public comment this evening?
We have Jack Riddle here for public comment.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm Jack Riddle, born and raised Seaford boy, but lived down the other side now for a while. But I just wanted to come and share some news. A lot of people in this room and this council has seen the vision of rebirth of this town. And I'm kind of proud to be a part of that because I have something to share with you. I'll give it to you and then I'll explain to you what it is.
Thank you.
So 40 years ago, I opened a branch in the Nylon Capital Shopping Center when we were with Mellon. And I'm here to tell you, or announce, yesterday, we opened a new branch there. I'm with a bank we started 20 years ago, a community bank, but thanks to a lot of help from your folks and your people and your permit department and all that, we're privileged to open that bank right back to where I opened it 40 years ago. What's interesting about this picture on top is that young man, he's still looking good, isn't he? Look at that. Standing next to me is Helen Johnson, who still works for me 40 years later. So I just wanted to come and thank you, the council, thank the city government, thank Rob, who kind of bought into our little plan to open this branch and bring a bank that I was here 40 years ago, and here we are again. It's kind of the rebirth of this center, and we're glad to be a part of it, and I really do appreciate everything you did. I brought some folks with me. Some of them you may know. Chris Benjamin, the Senior Vice President. Judy Johnson, Vice President. Wendy. If you don't know Wendy, you're going to know her. and my good friend Karen. So they're here. They let me come sometimes. So, once again, I just wanted to come and thank you all for making this easy. There was a few delays, a few issues, but what I can tell you, and I tell this to anybody that wanted to come to Seaford, you folks made it easy. Everything we needed, we got to the right people, and the team got it done. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much, and come and visit us. And we've invited the governor, who will be here for a ribbon cutting sometime in the next 2 weeks. We're still firming out the schedule, so you'll hear about it later. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle.
Congratulations.
And welcome to Seaford.
I'm going to make them go back to work, so we're going to, this wouldn't be entertaining, but we're going to go back to work. That's okay. Thank you.
Who do we have next for public comment?
We have Dan Cannon here for public comment.
Sorry, I'm not opening a bank. Have a good evening. Tonight, Mayor and City Council will consider borrowing $1.535 million to fund the Martin Farm Sewer Relocation Project, one of several Seaford water and wastewater projects in the pipeline. Before all such decisions are made, we submit that there should be important steps in place and taken, especially as related to transparency and timely sharing of the details of these projects with citizens. After speaking with neighbors in and around Martin Farms and other sources, it appears that those impacted have been and are largely being kept informed. Information has been shared in letters, during an initial meeting, at 2 public hearings, and some contacts even began more than 2 years ago. Further, it is anticipated that there will be another chance to meet with the residents, more letters sent, and a door-to-door campaign conducted to try and make sure that everyone is informed about the project process and progress. Therefore, it appears that the city management has conducted and will conduct a bevy of contacts with those directly affected citizens and some other city residents. However, all projects of this type and borrowing magnitude should also include things like a preliminary engineering report, or PER, presented to Mayor and City Council and citizens well in advance of funding considerations like tonight's to facilitate significant discussion, evaluation, and review. Also, consideration and communication of potential impacts on the neighbors and neighborhoods shared with citizens should include impacts on property values, location, length, and severity of local traffic congestion and disruption, effects on access to egress from nearby public facilities, like West Seaford Elementary, changes in water and/or sewer requirements, like meters, impact on water and other sewer rates and fees, and other significant considerations if they should arise. In conclusion, accordingly, we recommend that City Council approve the $1.535 million borrowing to carry out the Martin Farm Sewer Relocation Project. The missing additional transparency considerations above can and should be remediated. At the same time, we also recommend that Mayor and City Council take a much more proactive role in the oversight of any and all of the million-dollar projects like Martin Farms, to include steps, as mentioned above, to ensure maximum transparency with and fiscal responsibility to citizens. City management should strive for timely, transparent communications with and to citizens, and put aside unfounded fears such communications might raise unnecessary citizen concerns. All citizen concerns need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon.
Thank you.
Who's next for public comment?
No one else here for public comment.
Thank you. At this time, we'll, do we have any correspondence to share?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, at this time, we'll close the regular meeting and open up the public hearing. It is 7:09.
Good evening. So the first item on tonight's public hearing is for Cypress Haven LLC. It's located on North Hall Street. Tax map and parcels 531-13.06-46.00. The zoning is R3, high-density residential, and it's a preliminary site plan review for the construction of 2 proposed 6-unit townhouses and associated utilities, stormwater, and parking. This is the lot. It's a vacant lot currently, North Hall Street and Locust Street, just south of Heritage Jewelers there, that tan building, just to the upper side of the blue square there. They did supply us with this site plan. This one's a little hard to see on the screen, but the next one I did zoom it in. There's two buildings shown, parking along the bottom that will be accessible by the alley, Cypress Alley, and two stormwater structures on either end of the property. The buildings do front on Hall Street, and so the parking is in the rear. It's two 6-unit townhouse buildings. They're showing 28 parking spaces. There's on-site stormwater, dumpster enclosure. It does require approvals from the city engineer for the stormwater, state fire marshal, Sussex Conservation. Derek Parker, the owner, is here, and his engineer, Edwin Tenenbaum, if there's any questions. That's pretty much a quick overview of it. It's a preliminary site plan, so they're still working through getting their approvals and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? I do have one. Are there any substantial changes from this sketch or this plan from the preliminary sketch that we saw?
This is the first time you've seen
This is the first time?
This is brand new,
Okay.
yes, sir.
What was the other one? Was it on the same?
That
different
was
piece
on
of property?
Porter Street.
Okay,
Porter Street.
okay,
It's
Yeah.
very, it's adjacent.
all right.
Yeah, it's just behind this one.
Okay, thank you.
Are these intended to be rentals or?
From what I understand, yes.
Purchases.
Mr. Parker has several other rentals in city limits, and this will add to his portfolio. Yes.
If there are no other questions from the council, any questions from the public? If not, then we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you. So the next item is for Terrence Doyle. This property is located on Sussex Highway and Spotless Street, tax map and parcel 331-6.00-1.00. Zoning is C2 Highway Commercial. This is the final site plan review for the proposed development of an Aldi food market with associated parking and site improvements. This is the property out there on Sussex Highway. It's the yellow one highlighted there. Currently vacant. There's just a mound of dirt there that they're going to have to contend with during construction. But it's in the same entrance off the highway as the Duck-In Car Wash. This is the site plan. This is the whole thing. I've zoomed in on the next one. It's pretty much identical to the last time you've seen it. They really made no changes to the site at all. For this, go to the next slide so you can see it a little easier. So it's a 20,275 square foot grocery store. They did receive some variances back in November 2024 to reduce parking from 102 to 93, relocate the shopping cart storage. Our code requires it to be in a parking space. Aldi's business plan puts them up next to the door, right next to the building. We reduced the front yard setback from 50 to 35.6, reduced side yard setback from 20 to 2.7. That's that lower left-hand corner there. There's like a tax ditch that runs back there that makes it very difficult. And then increase the size of the wall sign from 36 square feet to 75.1 square feet. And I do have a photo, a rendering of the building that shows that. It fits with Aldi's business and how they do all of their signage. Requires approvals from DelDOT, which they're working through right now, Sussex Conservation, and the State Fire Marshal, which I believe we have both of those right now. Like I said, these are the renderings that we received from their engineer, and the Aldi signs there. There'll be one on each side of the wall right above the entrance that will face Spotless Street and Sussex Highway. So it's a very nice looking building. It'll be very, very well received out there on the highway. If there's any questions, that's all I have for this presentation.
Any questions from council? I recall a variance for signage was on the preliminary.
Yes, that's
Is that-
still.
that's all settled?
It's all good.
Okay. If there's no further questions from council, any questions from the public on this matter? Having none, we'll move on to the next item.
Next is Burley.
So this is the second public hearing for the Barton Farms water pollution loan for the sewer relocation at Martin Farms. Basically, this is the same slides that we saw before, but I just wanted to bring them back. So we're replacing 1,750 feet of 12-inch gravity sewer main, 180 feet of 10-inch gravity sewer main. There's 7 manholes, 36 new laterals. The price is $1.535 million. It's 2% interest, and it's a 20-year loan. And we are doing, this is for phase 1, which is basically where that red line is in the middle. It's everything to the right of that. So it would be Rodney, Locust, and some of Nylon is what this project involves. And I think that was it. Yep.
Okay, any questions from council on this item? Are there any questions from the public on this item? If not, then we'll move on to item 4.
Okay. So this is the water portion of the project. This is the first public hearing for that. We had to stagger them because of when we received our binding commitment letters from the state. So this will come back for a second public hearing. But this is this would be the water portion of the project, like I said. 781 feet of 10-inch water main, 220 feet of 8-inch water main, 1,180 feet of 6-inch water main. There's 3 fire hydrants, 5 valves, 36 new services, same phasing. So it'd be the same phase. We'd still be doing phase 1, which is on the right-hand side of that red line. The project cost is $962,400. And we did get a 100% principal forgiveness loan for this, so there's no cost to the city as long as we complete the project.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from council? I will ask, refresh my memory, was this part of a planning session or an open session of council with this, when this concept was first introduced?
You have a good memory, Vice Mayor. I'll lean on the director. I think we did talk about this at a planning session, did we not? About 2 years ago.
Original. Yeah.
So this is really the first time it's been unveiled, so to speak, in an open session of council?
The water project
project,
is our
yes.
first public hearing.
Okay.
But
The previous one I understand, but
Yeah.
this is the one I'm
the
talking.
the two projects basically went parallel. We have also held a meeting here at City Hall. We mailed letters. The city clerk prepared letters under the director's signature to all the residents in the area. And we held a meeting here, so we had a meeting with all the affected property owners. About 2 years ago, we also put underground the electric that's in the backyard. So everything's co-located in easements, water, sewer, and electric. Now that the electric is underground and we don't have to get into the right-of-way very much, at all, basically, we have a lot of concern about being able to access these critical utilities in the backyard. So the project overall has been in planning for probably 3 years. But yes, sir, for the water portion, this is the first public hearing that we've had.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, no other questions from council? Any?
I have one. The meeting that was attended here in the city council, was it well attended?
No, sir, it was not. We had, I believe, 3 people that represented 2 properties,
Okay. Thank you.
but we offered it. The engineer also needed critical information to design the project. We needed elevations of the basements, of the finished floors, of the manholes in the backyards. So George Miles and Bureau, our engineer, has endeavored to try to knock on doors. And they, even then, going door to door, they didn't get 100% response from our letters, our personal contact. They did the best they could. We feel confident when the contractor mobilizes, we certainly will be getting additional contacts with the residents.
Okay. but we did show transparency.
We did try, yes, sir, to the extent we could.
Are there any questions from the public? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Burley. We'll call Mike back up for item 5.
So this public hearing is for a first reading for an amendment to the Chapter 15 zoning ordinance. Zoning ordinance requires a public hearing as part of its amendment process. And this document, which I believe I've sent out and you all have a copy of, has been in the works for a long time. So it's basically taken all of our most recent amendments, recodifying them so it matches the rest of our code. So it's all uniform, and this will combine the zoning ordinance and our subdivision regulations into one document, so it's easier for people to access the information they'll need when they're designing projects. It's a lot to go over, but there are several things that are new in this document that I want to hit on. The first one for the Board of Adjustment, Mr. Moore, our attorney for the Board of Adjustment, recommended that we adjust the composition of the board, and I did some research, and there is a Delaware code, Delaware section 22, subsection 322D, does permit the mayor to appoint 3 to 5 residents to the Board of Adjustments for a 3-year term. So I've included that. If council's interested in doing that, we can proceed with that change. It just makes it, I guess, a little more balanced instead of having the mayor, the attorney, and the city manager be the Board of Adjustments, which has been that way for a long time. Another one for the M1 Industrial District that we were looking at, and this will make the M1 similar with some restrictions as the Ross Business Park and I believe the Industrial Park, where we are adding some prohibited uses, and that's listed there in section 1531.5. Except that just makes everything match with the industrial park regulations and Ross Business Park. And then for fences, we run into occasion where people want to fence in their properties and they want a 6-foot fence all the way out to the street. That causes visibility issues with their neighbors' driveways, certain intersections. So this is similar to what the county has, where they restrict a 3.5-foot height fence within the front yard setback of any property. So kind of mirroring what they do, so it's more easy for the contractors to know what the rules are, and it gets us out of having these visibility issues with neighboring properties and their fences. So other than that, this just encompasses all of our recent changes and makes it into a nice format for people to read.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? I have one.
Yes.
Since this may affect me, what is the front yard setback for
So for you in R1,
R1?
it's 20 feet from your property line by the street back towards your house.
And that does not change.
No, the setbacks are not changing, it's just the height for the
Just the
fence.
height of the fence?
Yeah, right now, we don't have any height restrictions for fences.
Yeah,
so.
I'm in the market for a fence, so I need to know what.
Not very
what
many
to
people
expect.
want the privacy fence around their whole front of the house, but we've had people ask for, so.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions from the public? If there are none from the council? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, it's 7:18. I'll close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting.
So we'll jump back to the first item for tonight for Cypress Haven Townhouses. The owner is Cypress Haven LLC. Property is located on North Hall Street. Tax map and parcel 531-13.06-46.00. Zoning is R3, high-density residential. They're proposing to construct 2 6-unit townhouse buildings, 28 parking spaces, on-site stormwater, and a dumpster enclosures. It does require approval from the city engineer for the stormwater, state fire marshal, Sussex Conservation. Planning and zoning did make a recommendation to approve this at their April 3rd meeting. I
will remind council that these public hearings involve real estate matters, so that you're, if the motion does come to the floor and it gets for a vote, you should vote your intention and state a reason. So I will call for a motion.
Councilman McQuillan, I'll make the motion to approve the request of Cypress Haven LLC, property owner of the vacant lot on Hall Street, tax map and parcel number 531-13.06-46.00 for a preliminary site plan approval for the construction of 2 proposed 6-unit townhouse and associated utility, stormwater, and parking as presented.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Okay, I have a second. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, I'll take the yeas and nays. Councilwoman Dr. Gressett.
Based on findings of fact, I vote yes.
Councilman Holland.
I vote yes based on findings of facts. All the information provided before me tonight, I'm in favor of.
Councilman Bradley.
I vote, excuse me, yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Quillen.
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman Henderson votes yes based on the findings of facts.
Thank you.
So we have a unanimous vote. We'll move to item 2.
All right, thank you. So for public hearing number 2, the project is the Aldi final site plan. The owner of the property is Terrence Doyle. Property location on the corner of Sussex Highway and Spotless Street. Tax map and parcels 331-6.00-1.00. Zoning is C2 Highway Commercial. It's a 20,275 square foot grocery store. Received several variances in November 2024. Reduce the parking to 93 from 102. Relocate shopping cart storage from the parking lot to an area next to the front door. Reduce the front yard setback from 50 to 35.6. Reduce side yard setback from 20 to 2.7. And increase the size of the wall signs from 36 to 75.1 square feet. Requires approval from DelDOT, Sussex Conservation, State Fire Marshal. Planning and Zoning did make a recommendation to approve to council on their April 3rd meeting.
Thank you. Seek a motion on this matter.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Go ahead.
Councilman Holland, I make a motion to approve the request of Terrence Doyle, property owner of Sussex Highway, tax map and parcel 331-6.00-1.00 for a final site plan approval for the proposed development of a Aldi food market and the associated parking and the site improvements as presented.
We have a motion by Councilman Holland. Do I hear a second?
Councilwoman Grassett, I second that motion.
We have a second on the floor. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, then I'll request a roll call vote. Councilman Dr. Gressett.
Based on findings of facts, I vote yes.
Councilman Holland.
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Bradley.
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Quillen.
Yes, based on findings of facts, and another opportunity to shop somewhere else.
Councilman Henderson votes in the affirmative based on findings of facts. Item 3.
That's it.
No motions are
No
required.
motions. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. So new business number 1, we'll present the results of the recent municipal election.
Yes, sir. Thank you. A municipal election was held last Saturday, April 19th, 2025. Ballots cast, number of in-person votes was 211. Total number of absentee ballots we received was 19. So the total number of ballots cast was 230. Orlando Holland received 145 votes, and Jose Santos received 85 votes. Councilman Holland was reelected. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2, we'd like to call Mark Holcomb to the podium. He's a project manager with Evergreen Solutions to present the results of the City General Employee Compensation Study.
Thank you very much for having me this evening. I appreciate the chance to come and, as you said, share the results of our compensation study. I've got a few slides that I'll talk through that just really, set the stage and sort of explain, to you all, but also to the public, sort of what we did, what our findings were, and our recommendations as well. So I'll start with a little bit of recap, the study goals and the project phases. Those both go into, why were we brought in here? What were we asked to do? What was the compensation study actually about? Then we'll get into a little bit of the data that we collected. So what did the employees share in their employee meetings? What did we see when we looked at your current compensation and classification structures? And what did we see when we looked at the external market? So the market results there. Then lastly, we'll finish up, as I said, with our recommendations. So the study goals that we had here were really to look at two primary items. Number one was to study your systems for the internal equity of the compensation and classification systems. When we say internal equity, of course, what that refers to is how do your positions within the city relate to one another? We want to look at positions and understand that if somebody is tasked with a job that has additional complexity, additional leadership, maybe they've got a wider scope in their role, we want to make sure that's accounted for, potentially in their title, in their job description, and again, sometimes in their compensation as well. We also want to look at the external equity of your system, though, because we know even if you have a perfect internal system, even if everything were perfect here within the city, you're competing with other people, with other organizations outside of your own. And so we know that you have to be responsive to the market. You have to be aware of what other people are offering and what they're paying. And so looking at that external system, we wanted to make sure that we had you compared and understood how do you relate to your peers in the market. So all of our recommendations take both of those factors into account. The recommendations are not strictly, hey, what was the market average? Let's pay exactly what the average is, or hey, what exactly do we look at inside? But we looked at both factors. What does the market say? What does the internal system say? And how do we give a recommendation that really strikes the best balance between those two things? So the project phases, we divide up the project into four main phases if we're going to, sort of paint in broad brushes here. So phase one is the outreach phase. That's all about collecting data and really our organization getting to know your organization. So we collected data from city leadership, from HR, data such as your job descriptions that you currently use, employee data, what does your current pay system look like, what are your policies, et cetera. We also met with your employees, though. So I actually came here on site. I sat in this room for some of the meetings and again, met with employees, had conversations with them to really hear from them about what were some of their concerns, what are some of the things that they wanted us to look at, what are the things that they thought that we should know. So it's not that they got to direct the process or that they got to tell us the recommendations, but they did get to say, hey, we're concerned about these things. And so when you go out into the market, we wanted to be able to answer the questions that they asked. Phase two then was all about studying the data that we got in phase one. So looking at the data that was shared with us, from your organization, but also looking at the information that employees provided. Employees did raise some concerns. Some of them shared information about their jobs. Some of them shared information about the market, things that they wanted us to look at and to be aware of. So again, us studying that and reviewing the information collected went a long way to making sure, again, that we're able to address each and every concern that was brought forward to us and come back with a recommendation, some to change things, others to maintain the strengths that you have in your current system in place right now. Phase three then was about the external analysis. So going out to the market, collecting data from your peer organizations, really trying to understand, again, how do you relate, as I talked about a couple slides ago, how do you relate to your peers and what is your market positioning? Then phase four, the solution and recommendations phase is really sort of what we're wrapping up right now. So we made recommendations, as I mentioned, based on your internal and external findings. The recommendations we'll go over today at the end of the presentation. We've also submitted a final report, again, just to document and memorialize the process in case anybody has any questions. And then I will also be making a presentation to employees tomorrow as well. So employees will have the chance to hear directly from me if they have any questions or anything they'd like to address. So for the employee meetings, we did have some positive comments. We also had some concerns, certainly from employees as well. On the positive note, employees were definitely positive about the benefits package that they receive here. So again, when we said to employees, why did you come to work here, or why have you remained here over time? Benefits was something that they highlighted. I think that's a common, thing that we somewhat expect, but again, we don't want to take that for granted because we did find some strengths in your benefits offering as well that certainly can play a factor in retention. Employees also talked about the culture. So employees talked about the other employees around them, their supervisor, their coworkers, the leadership at the organization. It made it an environment that they wanted to work in and that they wanted to remain at over time. Some employees did share, hey, if I left, maybe I'd make more elsewhere, maybe I'd find another job, but I don't know if I'd like it as much as I like coming to work here. On some of the concerns, though, certainly employees did have some things to share there as well. So external equity, it's not uncommon for that to be the main concern we hear. Employees know that we're coming in for a compensation study, and so that's on their minds. And so that is something that your employees did share. They said, hey, we don't think we're the top payer. We don't know that we're an average payer. We think we may have fallen behind. Sometimes they have specific examples. I know, such and such position pays more at another organization. And so again, we want to make sure we respond to that with data, and we actually come back and say, okay, not just does one organization pay more, but how do we actually look at that in terms of the data? So that was something that we did. Another concern employees had was related to longevity. So sometimes employees, or some of the employees here would share, hey, I feel like I've been here for a long, long time, and maybe that has not been taken into account the way that they feel it should. That is a common concern we have heard, particularly in the last few years. We know as the market has moved, as entry-level pays have come up, the people who've been here for as long as some of your long-tenured folks have not always gotten increases that have kept pace with the entry-level wages. So that was a concern that your employees shared, and something we wanted to look at as well. So with the current system findings, we did find, again, you've got a pay structure in place now that it makes sense. It looks it looks good. There were some small tweaks that we may have wanted to make for some consistency, but overall, your pay scale did look appropriate. You had pay grades that sort of progressed, from bottom to top. They got a little bit wider as you went. And again, you had a pay plan that did capture the market ranges that you all would have needed to see. You did have more than half your employees over the midpoint of the grade. Again, that's okay. That means that you're progressing your people through your ranges. It wasn't an excessive number, stuck at the top of the range. Sometimes you do have that concern where you get too many people at the very top. But we did find, again, you all are not keeping people stuck at the bottom of the ranges. We did see that progression through the ranges there as well. Then we also ran some analyses for compression. And again, we identified that while there are certain areas maybe of individual compression, we did not see a major concern. Most employees were paid less than 80% of their supervisor salaries. So that gets back to that internal equity that I referred to before. Is if you have a supervisor who may be responsible for their own work, but also overseeing somebody else, you would expect that to be reflected in the compensation practices of the organization. And again, that's what we saw here. So the compression, we touched on the rank compression there just a moment ago. Again, that rank compression refers to an employee versus somebody who is above or below them in the organization. I did want to indicate we also did look at compression in the range. So that is that longevity-based compression from employees. Again, it's not that we didn't find any instances of that, but we found that the organization was, again, more or less in an appropriate placement there. So the compression analyses that we ran, it was not pervasive issues. It was not, hey, there's something going on that's a major, major issue. So that compression was not one of the major highlights that we found that needed to be addressed. With that, though, let's turn to the market, because, again, I know that's the thing a lot of people are most interested to hear about. So we did go out into the market, and we surveyed peer organizations. So you'll see them listed off to the right. We got 10 different peers that responded, and we did adjust those peers for cost of living, understanding, again, that cost of living is high, and certainly it's a concern everywhere you go, but we wanted to make sure we made an as apples to apples of a comparison as we could make. So if an organization on that list has a higher cost of living than yours, we would have actually adjusted the salaries to reflect the cost of living that you pay here, so we're not artificially inflating the numbers. On the other hand, again, if somebody's cost of living is lower than yours, we don't want to artificially deflate your salaries. We don't want to make you feel like you're in a better position than you truly are, because that's not, comparable to employees. They would recognize, hey, if I go somewhere else and make the same amount at a lower cost of living, that dollar goes further there. We did have 42 different positions that were looked at, and the average response among those positions, once outliers were removed, was about 7 matches per position that we were able to make recommendations on. So with the market results there, again, the major finding in the market was you all have slipped in your market position somewhat versus your peer organizations. You'll see on the left-hand side the unadjusted rates for cost of living. On the right-hand side, you see the adjusted rates. Not a significant difference, but either way, you do see that your pay is about 10% below the market. Now, this is an average response. This refers to classifications. It refers to your pay ranges. So it does not mean every single individual is 10% below the pay they should make. It does not mean that every single classification came out the same way. But it does mean if you look on average, again, you were about 10% behind at the minimum and the maximum of the range. You felt slightly further behind at the max, but again, only a difference of a couple percentage points. That is because the peer range spreads, the peers have a little bit wider of ranges than you do, so you fall a little bit further behind at the max. But again, overall, the average response shows some of your positions are significantly below market, some are doing a little bit better, and overall, again, we did find that market gap. So with the recommendations then, we have 3 major recommendations to share and to go over at a high level tonight. Number 1 is adopting an adjusted market responsive pay plan. So that pay plan, again, is relatively similar to what you have in place right now. As I mentioned on your current system analysis, we didn't find your pay plan to be significantly out of line with what we would have expected, but we did see some areas where we felt some additional consistency in terms of the widths of the ranges, as well as the progression between grades. As you move up the pay scale from grade to grade, we felt there was a little bit more consistency that could be added there. We did mirror your overall structure, so again, employees will be familiar with it. It's something that your HR will be comfortable administering. We then, in step number 2, need to assign pay grades to your different classifications. And so we went through actually individually and made recommendations for each of your classifications to get a new pay range based on what we found on the internal analysis as well as in the market results. We know, as I said, you're approximately 10% behind on average, but some positions might be 15% behind, some might be 5% behind. So if you just move everybody by the same exact rate, you don't actually fix a lot of your problems. You may move some people above the market, and some other people may still be below the market. So we made individualized recommendations for classifications. What it means is not everybody will see the same exact recommendation here, but the recommendations are based on the data and based on the findings in the market, and again, that internal equity, making sure we preserve appropriate space between classifications internally. Then lastly, number 3 is after you assign the grades to the positions, you actually have to determine, now how do we move employees into that pay range? What do we actually do with employee salaries themselves? And so the recommendation we have here is to go with a compa ratio approach. So the compa ratio, that actually refers to how an employee's salary compares to their pay range midpoint. So if you look at your pay range midpoint, if you have a comp ratio of 100%, you're exactly at midpoint. If your comp ratio is 90%, you're 10% below your midpoint, and again, 105% means you're 5% above. What the comp ratio does is it allows us to preserve relative employee placements as they get the benefit of their market adjustments. And the reason we felt the compa ratio was a strong approach here was because of some of the things I mentioned in this presentation. You don't have widespread compression, so the compa ratio is not designed to fix the compression. It's designed to maintain your relative placement within your range. You did see a larger market gap, so the compa ratio is designed to make sure employees get the benefit of that market gap. If an employee has moved through their range, but their range is below market, we're essentially making sure an employee is not penalized for having worked here with a below market range. So the compa ratio, we believe, is the best approach that does address your needs, addresses the data that we returned in the course of the study, and again, would be the best path forward for adjusting employee salaries individually. The cost, you can see the total cost up there, about $293,000. Again, impacting 50 employees for about $5,800 per employee. Once again, averages, so not everybody would get the same recommendation. But again, we do believe this is the best approach for addressing the data we found in the study. So any questions or anything you'd like me to go into a little bit more detail on anything?
Are there any questions for Mr. Holcomb? I have one. This may be proprietary information, but could you delve into the amount of time and resources that your firm took to endeavor into this study?
Sure, absolutely. So again, we've got a number of different consultants on staff and different specialists that actually played a part in the different pieces of the study. So I was one of the main people who led the engagement. We do have another individual who helped lead the study, another project manager. We've both been at the firm approximately 10 years, and we've worked together the whole time. So again, I think it's a great teamwork effort there. We've got other staff that helped out as well. One of those was a consultant who worked primarily on analyzing data brought to her. So when that market data was provided by somebody else, when we had the job descriptions that were provided to her, again, she worked on setting up the internal alignment of the system. She made the preliminary recommendations, and again, myself and the other manager, we sort of approved and went from there with those recommendations she made. Then we do have a dedicated market team at our firm, so I don't know, it keeps on skipping. We do have a dedicated market team at our firm, and so we have one of our market specialists go out and collect data from your peer organizations. That market specialist, she's been with the firm about 5 years, and again, she's fantastic at collecting the data, reviewing the job descriptions, and actually making sure not just that we're matching, well, hey, this is the same title somewhere else. She actually dives into the job descriptions to say, is there enough of an overlap between these two jobs to consider them as a competitor in the market? So again, she collected that data, provided that to us, and then again, we took that and made recommendations from our team here. So those are the primary members that were involved in this, about 5 or so people in general that worked on this project. And again, from the market survey, definitely took dozens and dozens of hours individually on that item. The job description review took a number of hours as well, and then again, meetings, presentations, and final report is sort of the way I describe that at a high level.
And if you could just tell us and the public the time frame of the project, how long it took.
Absolutely. So we started the project, really the contract was signed, I believe, back in early fall, but I actually came on site in November. And again, I was here on site, met individually with employees and in groups here in the room. So that was in about November. Because that November timeframe, we did, try to get as much done as we could in November and December, but there's that little bit of a holiday break there. So a lot of the bulk of the work was done in January and February. And then again, for the last, a month or two, we've been sort of working on recommendations, fine-tuning things, addressing questions, making sure we're able to basically go line by line through that file to make sure that the recommendations we have are appropriate, that we're not going to create issues or create compression or concerns in there. So approximately, 6 months maybe, timeline in total.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Any other questions from council? If there's no further questions, I thank you very much for your work on the project.
Absolutely. Thank y'all very much. Everybody take care. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No further questions. I'll accept the motion to accept or reject.
Mr. Vice Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make the motion to recommendations of Mr. Mark Holcomb, PMP, SHRM-SCP, Project Manager with Evergreen Solutions, LLC, and adopt the new pay plan for the city general employees and to include the comp ratio salary recommendations in the FY26 budget as presented.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Holland. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second from Councilman Bradley. Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? If not, then I'll hear the yeas and nays. I'll call it out. Councilman Grassett,
I vote yes.
Councilman Holland,
I vote yes.
Councilman Bradley,
I vote yes.
Councilman Quillen,
I vote yes.
and Councilman Henderson votes yes. All present voting in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business number 4. We're going to present for improvement, or for approval, the Delaware Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund binding commitment offer for the city of Seaford.
Skip one, do number 3.
Did I skip? Oh,
Yeah, sir.
sorry.
That's okay.
Present for approval a resolution authorizing the city of Seaford to accept a $1.535 million loan from the Delaware Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund for the Martin Farms Sewer Relocation Phase 1 project.
Council has in their package Resolution R2005-01. Mr. Mears, our Director of Public Works, did outline during the public hearing the scope of the project for the sewer replacement for Phase 1 of Martin Farms. As stated in the public hearing, the loan will be for a 20-year term at 2% interest for a grand total of $1.535 million. Should council approve this resolution this evening, we'll have it executed, return it to the Delaware Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund folks, and they will start processing our general obligation bond associated with this loan.
Are there any questions? Having no questions, I'll accept the motion.
Councilwoman Grassett, I'd like to make the motion to approve the resolution authorizing the city of Seaford to accept a $1.535 million loan from the Delaware Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund for the Martin Farms Sewer Relocation Phase 1 project, and permit the mayor and city manager to execute all loan documentation as presented.
Thank you, Councilwoman Grassett. Do I hear a second?
Councilman Quillen, I'll second.
There's a second from Councilman Quillen. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilwoman Grassett,
I vote yes.
Councilman Holland,
I vote yes.
Councilman Bradley,
I vote yes.
Councilman Quillen,
And I vote yes.
and Councilman Henderson votes yes. All voting in the affirmative. Thank you. Now we move on to number 4. We're going to present for approval a Delaware Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund binding commitment offer for the City of Seaford wastewater treatment plant upgrade and expansion project.
So this is following the same track as like the Martin Farm that we did. We got the binding commitment letter, and we have to have the public hearings, and then it'll go for the close of the loan. But I just wanted to give an overview. We've been talking about the wastewater treatment facility upgrade and expansion for, I lose track of time because I've been here a little while, so it's 5 to 8 years probably. We did the preliminary engine report, the PER. We did that a long time ago, so we have all that information. So anyway, so the total project cost, estimated project cost, is $47 million. I'm just going to round up when the numbers are that big. So, but what we're trying to, let me back up. So what we're trying to do is get the project started with the Headworks project, which we're considering Phase 1. We've already approved that in our budget for FY25, actually one payment for that upgrade. The design is almost complete. And we're almost ready to go to bid, but we have to get the loan in place to go out to bid, of course. So what we did was we approached DENREC about getting the binding commitment letter for the entire project for all 3 phases. With that, we feel like we can, there's some advantages to it. We could lock in a 2% rate for the entire project. So all 3 phases would be locked in at 2% interest rate, and it would be locked in for a term of 30 years. So, you know, depending on what the market does for the next 8 to 10 years, we would be locked in at a 2%. Let me just go to this one real quick. Yeah, so this is the actual Headworks project that we've been talking about for a long time. So we're receiving, the cost of the Headworks project is $14.339 million. We're receiving a $2.5 million earmark from the federal government, and we've already paid that $70,000 toward the design. So what we would be financing for phase 1 is $11,769,000. As you all are aware, we negotiated the contract within the last 6 months or so to lock them in to pay 40% of the capital improvement costs. So they will repay us 40% of the semi-annual payments that we do. So we still would secure a loan in our organization for the $11,769,000. But as we make the semi-annual payments, the county pays their 40% of that payment back twice a year. So that's how we recoup it. Within this phase 1 is also the design of phase 2, which, you know, it's around $2 million just for the design of phase 2. So that's kind of bumped this up from, you know, last year we were talking, the number was going to be a little lower, but we decided to put the design of phase 2 in phase 1 so we can move right along. So I'm sorry to jump back to this. So just to give you some numbers, because it is so big, the $47 million is the total project. You take out that $2.5 million earmark, and that $70,000 we've already paid. It's a $44 million loan for all 3 phases. Again, the county would pay 40% through repayment, which is almost $18 million. So in the end, the city of Seaford users are only going to pay, not only, but will pay for $26,794,000 of a $44 million project. So that's, to me, is good. That the county, we have a good partner with the county. So we're hoping to start the phase 1. Again, like I said, it's already in this budget, but we don't believe that we're going to get it bid. And, you know, I know we won't get the loans closed and bid and all that stuff in FY25. So we're just going to roll it into FY26. Phase 2 probably wouldn't happen until FY29, FY30, somewhere in there. And then phase 3 would be FY33, FY34, something like that. So phase 2 is the upgrade to the actual ENR process. So it's a more upgraded process to achieve better limits. And then phase 3 is the sludge handling facility, basically upgrades. So, and we have some opportunity, I think, when we get there to right-size that a little bit and possibly save some money. So, but being that we're phasing it like this, and we can go back for each one individually when we go to close the loan, it'll give us that freedom to change some things around. So this is just a bunch of, that's a lot of numbers, for big numbers. So then if we approve this, then again, we'll do the process and we'll have the public hearings.
What questions do we have for Mr. Mears?
I have one.
Mr. Bradley?
Is there a chance during this phasing that we will have additional funds available to us that more than the 40%?
Good question. So one other advantage to doing it phased like this is we can go back to the state to ask for principal forgiveness per phase. So for phase 1, we didn't qualify really because we're getting $2.5 million from the federal government, so they didn't feel like we needed any principal forgiveness. But for phase 2, we can go back and ask for principal forgiveness, and then for phase 3. So there's actually opportunity to get more principal forgiveness that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
Other questions? I have one. How often is the 40% number negotiated? Because you have, you're going to have different kinds of growth. It might go, we might be developed out and our development slows, our flows slow down, and then Greenwood and Bridgeville and Blades, Blades is slated for what, 300 homes?
It's a good point.
Addition, so then our ratios are going to be out of whack. So how long is that contract?
So that contract, we can open up almost at any time. And we just did that. The director and I went over and met with the county folks about 8 months ago, and we negotiated this 40%. Flows are currently at about 33%. Is that?
They're a percentage of flows, yes.
And our people, our finance people and our wastewater folks actually monitor flows monthly, because we do a monthly bill to the county for O&M. So, Vice Mayor, you're 100% correct. We'll watch that. There's some headroom now, about 10%. They felt that was their growth. That's the headroom they needed for growth based on Blades, Greenwood, the counties.
What they had on the books, yeah.
Yeah, their comprehensive plans. But you're 100% correct. If things can change over the lifespan of this project, we will go back to the county, and if we can demonstrate to them that they're now at 44% or greater, then we will renegotiate that, and they will take a bigger piece of the CapEx payment.
Just think of it this way too, like for phase one, they're at 40% of 2 MGD. As soon as we get done completed with phase two, we'll be at 3 MGD. So they'll be at 40% of 3 MGD at that point, so.
And this is something we're going to talk about further with the council, obviously, as we progress and we talk about financing this upgrade. But a part of this expansion is maximizing the ability of this plant to accept flows from the environment that it's receiving flows from. So currently, we have about a 2 million gallon per day plant. With this expansion, we're going to go to about a 3 million gallon a day plant. So the director and his engineering folks are going to bring that information forward during these public hearings. We should look at the impact fee structure that we have, because new users to our facilities pay that impact fee to come on our lines. And growth should pay for growth. As council is likely aware, we have not updated our impact fee structure for better than 20 years. We haven't increased the amount in 15. So we're going to work on that. We're going to bring that back to council. But about 1 million gallons of this will accommodate new growth in addition to better treatment. So part of the way to pay for this as well is as new growth comes on, not only now, if we change our impact fee soon to accommodate this, but as growth comes on in the life of this plant, that impact fee will help us, new users, pay their fair share of this debt service.
Other questions? I'm going to go down the ultimate cost to the person that pays the sewer bill. So the $14 million phase one at 2%, what's that impact on someone's bill? Upcoming, it's not going to happen now, but
Right.
At some point there will have to be an impact to the rate.
Yeah. Now, I don't have that information in front of me now, but I will say that one of the semi-annual payments was baked into this budget already. So it's not like you're going to get the hit of the entire project. You're basically going to get half of it. So we would have to figure out what that is. Well, and it's all going to change when we, do the budget process.
I know it's an evolving process,
Yes,
but, people who are watching, people who are here, we'll all be affected in some way. Even with principal forgiveness, we will still have, with a new facility, there will be increased maintenance costs, and there will be secondary costs that are going to affect us all. And I think that's the next question is, how much are we going to end up, how much is it going to affect our bill?
Yeah. It's about a $262,000 payment twice a year, so it's a good amount.
Yeah, so $500,000 spread over all users.
Yes.
It could be, significant if we don't get some forgiveness. And I know the
Now-
city manager is tired of hearing it from me that we got to get our rates in line so that we can get the forgiveness.
But it'd be 40%, I'm sorry, it'd be 60% of the half
60% of that.
So.
And one thing, one of the benefits of looking at this binding loan commitment, locking it in, as the director said, at 2%, we've lengthened the standard time to 30 years to try to reduce that. But also, the time horizon of this project is 8 to 10 years. So that's going to give council some time over several successive budgets. And council took step one last budget year, increasing those water and sewer rates, to adjust that rate slowly over time so that we don't have rate shock to our customers. That's the goal, not to have rate shock. So I commend the director and his engineering folks for looking at this, planning it in this way, not to only maximize principal forgiveness and position the city in the best light possible, but also giving the council time and the finance staff to react to these increased costs over a longer period of time than just saying, here it is.
I'll just say inflation is a real thing. In 97, we built the entire plant for $8.3 million. And built a lot of structures, concrete structures and equipment, and totally redid the plant. So it's unbelievable. It's 5 times that much, now, 6 times.
Yeah, I mean, when I was first introduced to this project, 2017, 2016,
It was less.
it was 25 million.
26, 25,
Yeah.
26. Yeah.
So, it has grown legs over the years, and it's essential that we do it. Now, I have one last question. Will these upgrades over the next 8 years get us out of derating for copper and phosphorus and nitrogen?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we will
yeah,
no longer need to trade.
Well, yeah, we got out of the copper with this new permit, supposedly in the draft, but we haven't seen it yet. We haven't received it yet. We've seen the draft, and they've taken it out, but yeah, we should be good on all that.
So because we're derated now, we're set up for 1 million, but our flows are limited because of the nutrients.
Oh, well, we made the trade permanent with Invista.
Okay.
And so that's baked into our permit now.
Okay.
And
all
we
the time.
transferred in the WIP, we received Bridgeville's
We
allocation,
received
nitrogen
it.
and phosphorus as well.
Yep.
So that helped us. But the whole idea, and the director talked about ENR, enhanced nutrient removal. Right now, we're a BNR plant, biological nutrient removal, which gives us one level of treatment. ENR takes us to the next level, so the efficiency of the plant's going to increase. We're going to, that allocation that we have, we're going to be able to add that extra 1 million gallons because our process will become so efficient and modern.
And this new design took into account hardening for
It did.
sea level rise.
It did, yes, sir. We received a grant, and we identified, it's kind of a complex process, but we identified the time horizon of, I believe it was 50 years, Mr. Mears, and we identified structures that needed to be elevated or flood-proofed, and that is, I believe it's in phase 3, is that right, Mr. Derbyshire?
All phases have.
All phases.
A little
Thank
bit.
you,
yeah.
sir.
But actually in the first phase.
Yeah, that is a good question.
It must have been 8 years ago that Judy did the presentation that
Yes.
we all saw.
So, yeah, that's a good point. The taxpayers need to know we are
Yeah,
taking that into account.
it's not, yeah, I hope everyone understands that this wasn't just overnight, This has been a lengthy process. So, any other questions from council? If there are none, I'll accept the motion.
Councilwoman Grassett, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Delaware Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund binding commitment offer for the City of Seaford wastewater treatment plant upgrade and expansion project and permit the city manager to execute the document as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Councilman Holland seconds. So there's any questions on the motion? Then I'll take the yeas and nays. Councilwoman Grassett?
I vote yes.
Councilman Holland?
I vote yes.
Councilman Bradley?
I vote yes.
Councilman Quillen?
I vote yes.
And Councilman Henderson votes yes. Thank you. Mr. City Manager, would you go over the reminders of meetings and new meet?
Yes, sir. Little League opening day is May 3rd, 9 a.m. at Williams Pond Park. I know the city clerk has the invite out to council, so please respond if you would like to attend. Budget meeting number 1 is scheduled for May 6th, 6 p.m. here in City Hall Council Chambers. And this is a new event to the City of Seaford, Brews and Clues, Saturday, May 10th, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. in downtown Seaford. So please mark your calendars for that new event. Citywide Cleanup Week, May 12th through 16th, and it's citywide. Tricia Newcomer will be acting city manager from April 26th to May 5th, 2025. That is all I have, sir.
Thank you.
National Day of Prayer.
Yes, thank you. That was today. I learned that National Day of Prayer is next Thursday at noon.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That is all I have,
Okay.
sir.
So we'll go on to liaison reports with Councilwoman Dr. Grassett.
Reporting on Public Works and wastewater, speaking of all the wastewater we just talked about. In Public Works, they've cleaned up several properties for code. They repaired the sweeper's broken flex coupling. They did dig up a couple service valves that need to be replaced. They have repaired a leak for irrigation at Williams Pond Park. They have dug down and opened sewer mains to send cameras in on East Poplar Street to identify the mains. They have prepared bids for the repaving of Teen Challenge and Love Inc. parking lots. Met with the developer about lots on Harrington Street. Installed a spare pump at the Dolby lift station as one was sent out for testing. And installed a rebuilt pump at the Herring lift station. As far as the wastewater treatment plant, we have seen a significant diminishing of the plant foam scum issue that we were having. Samples have been reviewed, but there was no obvious cause identified, but that has gotten much better. They exchanged the replacement grit collector motor for a correct size, replaced lighting in the blower room with LED, completed solar, and Delaware Solid Waste Authority reports. Had an on-site jar test for polymers for sludge thickener and secondary clarification. And upcoming for both departments, they're going to be installing speed limit signs and painting curbs in Muirfield. We'll continue using the camera to go down sewer mains. They'll be installing a new water service on Pond Street, and they will be keeping the wastewater treatment plant up and running with no violations, and that is the report.
Thank you. I'm going to skip my report for now and move on to administration with Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. They attended the Seaford Historical Society meeting and gave a presentation along with the mayor. And it took Brian Mack with the DDP and Bill Bath with Sussex ED on a tour of Seaford. They attended the developers meeting and luncheon to discuss the timeline for the next phase of the residents at River Place. And they met with Bob Curry of Teen Challenge to coordinate bidding of the parking lot, and attended various other meetings and events, and all the work is routine. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Moving on to electric with Councilman Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. First of all, I'd like to say that Greg Brook is getting a new assistant, and I know it must be a relief to him at this point because it's been fairly tense over the past couple of months. So I want to congratulate him for that. There was a new transformer at Body and Soul Building at the Innovation Center, pulled primary wired herring run, revamped the electrical feed to Sal's and China Wall to a temporary feed during construction, perform monthly substation checks. First night with my new tongue, I'm sorry. Scrapped some fried transformers and sent one to be rebuilt. So I learned something new today. These transformers can be rebuilt fairly quickly, and when they're completed, they can take up to a 10-year run. So knowledge is power. Lastly, I would like to say I was pleased with the election results. The turnout was low, but it was a perfect storm on Saturday before Easter and one position up for election. I kind of like this guy, and I really needed someone to laugh at my sarcasm. Respectfully yours, Mike Bradley.
Thank you,
Greatly
Councilman.
appreciate it.
Moving on to Code, Parks, and Recreation with Councilman Quillen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll start off with the Code Department. 151 permits have been issued in year-to-date. Rental licenses are at 1,832. Rental inspections, routine inspections, and violation inspections are all ongoing. Performing plan reviews for the new permits. Projects are still Muirfield 1, Phase 4. 37 lots are being installed or built in Phase 4. Bel Air is also being finalized here in the last section there. I anticipate possibly sometime this summer that project should be completed. In Nylon Capital, we all heard this evening that Community Bank has opened as of yesterday, and congratulations to them. The fascia is going up on Dollar Tree. I don't know if you saw that today. That's going to look nice up there with that too as well. Moving over to Parks and Rec. Grass season has begun, and we're cutting routine areas. Installed topsoil in the low areas at the sports complex. Gateway Fountain is up and running. May need some repairs in the near future. Met with DENRAC on hosting a fishing program this summer at Riverview Park. This program will teach youth how to fish. Met with SCSC pool official to discuss future plans for the fiscal year 26 budget. Met with the Nanticoke Little League for placement of the dog waste and leash signs at Williams Pond. Working on irrigation line that's broken at the Kiwanis Park. Prepped all sports fields for the leagues. Men's softball pitch has started. They have 7 teams participating. Bobby, Tina, and Katie completed their required cyber security training. Hosted the Lighted Up Blue Awareness event on 4/14. I don't know if you have some pictures. Yep, there's it was well attended. Very nice event. I don't know if you know Brent Evans. He did a fantastic job as the guest speaker. And it was a very, very nice evening. It was probably one of the best evenings that we've had in several years for the event. So kudos to everybody who went out, and kudos to Katie and her staff for preparing everything. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the Easter egg hunt, and we created a Easter basket giveaway at City Hall, which we gave out 51 baskets, and the pictures up here are, we raffled off 2 main big baskets there, and then there's your 2 finalists that won the Easter baskets. Also, thanks to Erin Niblett. She is the person underneath the rabbit costume. So.
No, that's the Easter Bunny.
That's the Easter Bunny. It's the Easter Bunny, so thanks to her. Thanks for Mayor. What are you laughing at? Thanks for the Mayor coming out, and also Vice Mayor coming out too as well. We also talked about Brews and Clues and the committee meeting on 4/16, working on volunteers and the logistics on that, and that completes my report, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. So with police and fire, I do have 2 complete reports. I'm going to do my best to make it brief, considering the amount of time and the amount of business we have before us. Chief Wilson of the fire department has submitted a complete complete report, there are a total number of calls to date of 1,823 calls total, for an average of 16.2 calls per day. There's a list of significant incidents, a gas leak, a cooking fire, and another cooking fire at a commercial establishment on the 17th. They have been busy. They handled 4 vehicle fires in 22 days, handled 5 woods or grass fires in 22 days, and handled 8 gas emergencies in 22 days. So those are not even showing up in the significant incidents. All Seaford Fire Department apparatus is in service. Pardon me. You'll see the training rubric there, or matrix. Please take note that there's an extensive commitment to training in this organization. Under EMS, firefighter EMT Robert Dean Helsel has completed and obtained a Swift Water Level 3B boat operator certification. The new ambulance A87 is in service, and all items are addressed minus the SIM card for the Verizon wireless equipment on board, and that's on order, expected to arrive soon. Effective April 15th, employees have switched to summer uniforms. And congratulations to Lieutenant Robert Givens for completing 3 years of service as of a couple days from now, 4/25. We think you'll make it.
I think so.
So, news and events, the plan is, weather permitting, of course, that they'll be flying the flag at Nanticoke Little League opening day on May 3rd, and Station 87 and 71 fire officers will have an integrated training on fire command on May 3rd as well, May 3rd and May 4th at the Delaware State Fire School's new command trailer. Moving on to Seaford Police Department, you'll see the chart that Chief Kraft, you'll see the whole report that Chief Kraft has prepared, but I call your attention to the 2025 column under total complaints and the subheadings there. Under all crimes, there were 126 with 10 felonies, 31 misdemeanors, 8 violations, 1 civil, and 76 other. 83% clearance rate, which is not identical to the previous period, but very similar. Moving down to drug complaints, there were 8 drug crimes with 8 adult arrests, and along with this, there was 1 seized firearm. Under traffic, there were 164 traffic contacts with 84 citations and 28 warnings issued. 3 DUI, all 3 were alcohol related, none were crash related. 20 crashes with 1 injury crash on Dutton Avenue and Norman Eskridge Highway. 7 non-reportable and 12 reportable accidents. There were 3 hit and run accidents. It looks like they were all on public streets in the city. There's some updates on the homicide from May 12th. There was an arrest made. I won't read the whole thing to you, but there was an arrest made. So thanks to the Delaware State Police and the Seaford Police Department for their diligence in apprehending the suspects. There's also a link that's in the report, a hyperlink. You may, if you hover over it, it may lead you to you can click on the link, or you can copy the link and put it into your browser to open up the report from the Delaware State Police in the matter. There was a homicide on Clarence Street and it appears that there's been an arrest made on this event, and there's also a link, there's another link for the full Delaware, a report from the Delaware State Police on that. There, bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
There are other significant events listed that I'll let you go through at your leisure. The administration was busy. The chief attended director, staff, liaison, and council meetings as scheduled. The chief also attended the statewide chiefs meeting of the Association of Chiefs of Police. There were cadet interviews that the deputy chief and the chief were involved with. The Sussex County Chiefs meeting and the leadership training were both attended by the chief and the deputy chief. And there was a meeting, like a working group meeting for the Seaford House to try to rein in some issues that we're having with some of the residents there. Under community events, as usual, the department remains very involved in the community with more coming. There's, was it, Chief, we got a new McGruff going on? So we have a new McGruff outfit that that's going to be showing up at some of the events around the city and possibly elsewhere for community involvement. And there was a Special Olympics event that SRO Wingate and Corporal Ruark attended. Thank them. And the chief and the deputy chief attended the Good Friday walk with Unified Seaford on the 18th, on Good Friday. Other training, the Spear team continues training twice a month, and the departmental firearms training, is that complete? You got a couple more, Chief, you've got to do? Just, there's a makeup day, but just about everybody's completed their firearms qualification training. Officers Wilson, Matthews, Levis, and Yost recently attended SQUAT school. And with that, Chief, would you like to take a moment to talk about the community team that's just been unveiled? Just a brief minute. Just to let the council know about the deputy chief's initiative in that matter.
And cadets are starting on the 25th.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'll keep it brief, 15, 20 minutes. I'm just kidding. Deputy Chief Justice and I have been working on a number of initiatives. This was his initiative that he's put together for a community outreach team. It's going to involve team leaders, 2 to 6 sworn officers, and a civilian member. So McGruff is actually purchased. He's an animated costume. He's going to be used in schools and different community events, specifically for the prevention of gun violence, education. You have to get children before the 6th grade. So this group of folks has been identified, and hopefully we'll be able to announce that on social media this week. We've used it several times just this past week at Chick-fil-A with elementary schools. We've got several more events coming up with them. We've been into the schools already with McGruff. And you'll see very targeted community engagement specifically related to education and training and geared towards the youth before they get to a certain age to try to prevent some of these crimes that we're seeing now. And really it's about building trust in relationships and see something, say something, trying to get folks to know that we are there for them, building those relationships now while folks are younger. So, that answer.
Thank you, Chief. I didn't want to put you on the spot. You obviously knew more about it than I just learned about it.
We have about 5 members of the department right now. It's going to be led by Valerie Horn, overseen by her.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
That concludes my report, and with no further business, I'll accept a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
We have a motion on the floor, second.
Councilman Holland, I second.
Any objections or any discussion? If not, I'll take the yeas and nays. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Did you send it back